Welcome to part two of my Notion 30-day momentum training. This is going to go through essential activities, social networking, and my ideas and examples. So it's the other three components that I didn't cover in part one. And just so you know, I've updated this template now to version 1.2. So for anybody that commented 30-day in the first video, that same link will now show version 1.2. And I fixed up some of my views here just to be a lot more. If you go ahead and put this to full width, you can get a bigger display here of all my custom filters. And when they're in capitals, when they're on all caps right here, that means that they are the primary view, which means they're going to show up first in a browser. We're going to go now and start with essential activities. The way I have this set up in this dashboard, I have it broken down into daily activities, and this is designed to help you generate more revenue for your business by being more efficient, because you're going to be focusing and chunking down on tasks rather than sporadically working on things as you get them. You're going to delegate primary tasks for certain days of the week. So the way I have this laid out for the template, and obviously you can change this, I have client work on Mondays and Tuesdays that I deal with primarily. I don't do my own photo editing. I just focus on what I have to do to get the work done, and I try to get things done ahead of time so that the rest of the week I'm set. I communicate this with my clients too, that my primary days are Mondays and Tuesdays. That way I don't have the expectation that I can just turn around something in 24 hours if they email me on a Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, obviously exceptions happen, but the way that I have my system set up and the way that my clients understand it is that Mondays and Tuesdays are the days that I work, and then I have other things that I can do the rest of the week, like mostly things that are pretty trivial and small, but big tasks, big to-do items, those are done Mondays and Tuesdays. And then I work on some other things for my own company. I do a lot of image manipulation, compositing, retouching work, and I'm also getting involved with some writing work now too. So I like to do image prep and image completion on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then I like to do writing and final reviews on Saturday. So I have my schedule set up for 6 days a week, and I just chunk these main activities for those days of the week. Monday through Saturday, I will spend 15 to 20 minutes and I will log my essential activities, which you're going to see here in a second how that works. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, basically any day that isn't delegated to be specific client work, I work on myself, I work on my business, I work on moving that forward. And it's easy for me to understand that because I have them broken up in days. The point is you have to be consistent because you're going to have to check these things off. And then I have this producing content time frame. Just as you would work with your client for more than 30 minutes a day for primary tasks, you're going to want to work on yourself for more than that for these days here. And that's just how I have it broken up. I have it pretty straightforward, but I also want to point out that on this dashboard for essential activities, I have monthly goals that you can set. I have it set up so the filter is just going to show this month. And as you go, when the month ends, it's going to be empty and you're going to be able to put in new monthly goals. And then as you look back at what you've done, I would recommend, if you're curious to know how these all are laid out, you really shouldn't be using this as an introduction to Notion. Saying that now, like 20 minutes into these tutorials, it's really important to see what your goals are and if you're actually meeting them. This checkbox is obviously, is it done or not, right? Okay, so back to essential activities. We're going to go through these four things now. We've already covered this. This is just my system that you can tweak and make it your own, but I really recommend that you chunk your days of the week to just one or two things that day that you work on, so you're not getting all scatterbrained, and that ties into your action item list. So it's all connected. Here we go. The mental and physical log. This is your template view. I have it set up so it's just going to show today and last week. If I were to go to table view, I started this off in September, and I started adding in all the way up to November 14th. As I keep updating this template, it's gonna have more, but you're gonna want to do the same thing. You could go here and you could hit new, and then you could start, go to your day, November 15th next, That's a Sunday. We don't want that. Let's do Monday. I do skip Sundays. I think you should just not do anything those days. You should just not work 1 day a week at least. So take the day off. But this is kind of tedious going through it this way. What I like to do is I like to go to calendar view actually. And if I want to start, let's say, front loading the rest of my week where I can start tracking it because the filter is going to automatically only show me that week. You can drag these around obviously, but what you want to do is really just duplicate it, drag it, duplicate it. You could just do all in one. Again, I don't care what this is called. The Untitled, copy of Untitled. And that may sound kind of weird. I've set up a custom formula where it will give me the day of the week, and that's the name that I care about. The title is usually going to be blank, and if it's not blank because you've duplicated things, you would just go to your table view and you could just delete the name. It's that simple, all right? But what's the point of all this? The point of this is that when you go to your phone and you pull up Notion, you pull it up, you can then just start easily tracking what you're doing that day. So your mental and physical log, you would just go through the check marks and you would just check off that day of what you do on your phone or on the computer. I like to do this 15 to 20 minutes a night, and that's the reason you see this. All right. So at night, I'll usually go through, check everything off that I've done that day, and then I'll go ahead and do a journal entry. Before we get out of this mental and physical log, it's just really important to exercise, sleep, journal, and do a habit replacement. These are the 4 things that I've set up in the template for you, and as you check them off, I have a formula set up so that you're going to start seeing a percentage generate here, and that is formulated by another formula that I got, and I've put it here for you. If you wanted to add more, you would probably need to either contact me and I'll help you with that, or you're going to have to figure that out on your own. But you're going to have to change some of these things around. And what I've done for my own particular dashboard, I have a few more things here. I have 6 things instead of 4. And for what I'm doing for my dashboard, it's going to have different figures. So, if I uncheck this for one item, it's going to be 17%, 33, 50, 67, 83, and 100. So when you do this, you're going to be able to go and then look over time and see how good or bad you've been doing. I have not been perfect. I've been doing pretty good with sleep and exercise, but not very good at my morning formula or even journaling, which is bad. I should be doing more of this. But it's here. I can't ignore it. The evidence is in front of me. And I keep it simplified by this today and last week view. Go back to your template and show you what I'm talking about. You're going to see that there's a today and last week view is the default. So it's going to automatically hide last week's information. It's just going to keep moving with you so that you can just see how you're doing for that week. Okay, cool. So we've covered action items in the first part, right? We've covered essential activities, the mental and physical log. That's been covered. I hope you guys understand that. And now I want to get into the last 3 things under essential activities. And I really did try to keep this as simple as possible. But I feel like these are all very essential, right? Like you have to exercise, you have to get sleep, and you have to replace certain habits. Like that makes sense, right? And then journaling is really important. Now let me show you how I've set this up with social consistency. So what the heck is social consistency? Well, the way that I'm marketing myself now, I used to think that building a website was all I needed to have clients come find me, and that has not worked. So I'm going a more direct approach, and I'm trying to be more active on social media and reach out to people using groups, friending people who are related to my niche, who I really like and care about and want to help out. So I track all this using the social consistency portion of the template. And I start off with a log. And a log is based off of benchmarks that you've set for yourself. You notice it has the same kind of calculation, it has the same day of the week filter here. So all of that stuff is the exact same as before. I have my filters set up. It's all the same pretty much. So what I have for value added, that just means that I've added value to somebody that's more than just saying, hey, cool, great, or nice. It's actually a thoughtful comment that I've posted for somebody who I may want to work with in the future. And also, just if I feel like it's a really good picture or something beneficial, I want to comment and maybe be friends with that person. So I would, if I did this, if I were to go back and, really you should be doing this the same day you do it. But, so let's stick with that. So today I went through and made some thoughtful comments on some posts and some groups that I followed. So I checked that box. And this basically also checks itself. And then I have this, did I message anybody? Because it basically involves reaching out to somebody directly and talking about their problem and how you can have a solution for their problem. So if I've done that, I check the box. If I have posted something of value to a group, I check that box. And if I posted something in my profile that day, I've checked this box as well. You may have already guessed from going back to the main dashboard, I don't really post social every day. I don't think you should be on social media every day. I just don't. That's why I have to have a schedule, So I just won't check it for that day, and that's fine. Maybe you don't have to have 100% across the board everything, but you should see the 100% on days where you're supposed to be posting. So as you'll go through here, just like how your physical and mental log worked, you're going to be able to go back and see what you've done in the past. Now let's go through and show the important comments from leads specifically and how I'm going to start talking about interrelational databases. If you don't know what that means, you probably need to go look at how to use Notion first and understand how interrelational databases work, because it's a really big part to this system and how I track everything together. If I have a post that I've done, and if I maybe move that over here, so this post reference, this is tied to a database where I'll actually, these are just demo posts, but if you have different post entries, these are, you see how there's all these different fields like leads, niche groups, other groups, mastermind engagement groups, important comments, and then back to the ideas. So this may seem really complicated, but I just want to say that these fill each other in. This information fills each other in when you go through your log. You don't have to go through and go back and forth and keep track of it. It'll all keep track of itself. So if I created a new post, and I just want to show you that the way I've set this up, in particular for this section, is I have the last edit date. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually change this. I'm going to go ahead and make it a created time, because to be consistent, you really shouldn't be able to lie to yourself, and keeping it organized by the last, really it's date created here. So I just changed that, and again, it's created time. So it's going to tell you exactly when you logged the comment. It doesn't necessarily have to be that day, but because you should be doing this every day, you can change this back if you want. If you just want to go ahead and I don't recommend it, but if you wanted to log this every other day or on the weekend, which I don't recommend, you could change this to just a date, just how I have the other activities set up where I kind of front loaded the work. That would be the same thing here. You could do date, and then you could just put in whatever date you want, or whatever date when you go back and look at the comment when it happened. I recommend that you keep this at created time, because you can't lie. You can't go and change when you created something. So doing that, if I were to go to my post interactions, this is going to be a database of all my posts. And if I haven't created that particular post yet, I can just do that right now. I can say my post entry, and then you're going to start seeing things populate. I have 7 of them. I'm going to go ahead and click on 8, and I can create a new one. So now if I were to go to my post interactions, you would see a post entry 8. show up that I just created. And I could log the information in here, or I could go ahead and log in some of the information here. So the comment, this is something that you wouldn't have in a database already. I would usually just copy and paste from like a Facebook activity log. I would just paste in the comment and put it right here. I would, if it was something that I added value with, I would go ahead and make it a given. But typically, if you're going to get comments from leads, it's usually going to be something you received. So we'll make it consistent here. And then if you have a particular lead that you're tracking and who's been following you a lot, you could then tie this to that person. And what that's going to do, it's automatically going to show up depending on what problems and solutions that you tied to that particular lead. It's going to use this thing called a roll-up in Notion, and it's going to show you kind of a preview of what you've already tracked. So if I were to click on the lead 1 here, under leads, if I click on this guy or girl, I could show you what problems and solutions that I've uncovered that I can have in here. And what that does, and you can see how it relates to, you can see how the interrelational databases are working and how you can tie a lead to all kinds of messages that you've done, comments that you've logged, or posts that they've engaged with. That's how that works. Moving down to email and direct messages, I set this up the same way. I say last edit time, but I'm going to go ahead and make this a created time, because I don't really think, thinking about this more, I think you should just stick to when it was actually created. Now the cool thing is, if you do this later, like I'll say created time, it's going to look all whack here because of how I set this up. But moving forward, when you have the date created field, you're gonna see how it's sorted from most recent to oldest with the today and last week filter, and you're able to just track messages. So just like you would track comments, the exact same thing is done for your direct messages. And if you were to have gotten a message, so if I were to click on like the page itself, you can see that the roll up is pulling in the particular leads, problems, and solutions. And you can also see even like the relationship. You can even see like the relationship phase that they're in. The order of these is now better. You can see that I'm making this as I go, but you can track things this way. And then the post interactions, this is similar to how the comments works, but this is tied to your specific posts, the value that you've actually created, whether it be your profile or groups. So you would then log all that activity here under my post interactions. And I've used the same day formula to calculate the day, and I have the date created here because, again, you should be doing this every night. You should be journaling 6 days a week, I should say. But Sundays are your reflection days, so you could do this 7 days a week and have that be more accurate. But I have a lot of different fields here, and you're going to have to play around with this because I don't really necessarily think that you need to just track leads as far as who's engaging with your posts. You could also talk about, what groups the post is actually in. So if I have a post entry 6 here, I can see that it's tied to lead 2. That's pretty standard from what I just talked about. But I can also type in the niche groups and the other groups that I've posted that with, and where the feedback came from, because it's important for me to see what groups are engaging with my post or not. And the mastermind section, these are people that I truly value, not to sell them something, but friends, mentors, people that I really care about. If they've engaged with my post, I like to keep a journal of that as well. So I'll go ahead and click in here, and I have a whole separate database for this. All right, and then these are just, where did I post it? Was it my website? Was it a group? Was it my business page? Was it my profile? You can have all this customized for yourself, of course. So that's how you track under essential activities. That's your social consistency. And I gotta say, that's definitely the most complicated one. This one was pretty simple. You just track what you did. And the social consistency actually involves text. It actually involves data. It's not just checkboxes. It's who's commenting, where they're commenting from. And then as you're able to see who's commenting from them and the information you have on your leads, you're able to see what kind of person they are, what field they're in. You're able to see what the problems and potential solutions that you think are relevant to their case. And it's all, I don't have to fill this in every single time. It just populates. Okay, daily journal entries. I have this now set up the same way where there's a date created field. So if I were to do a daily journal today, it's going to show you the day that it's created. This really should be, way up there, but you would just journal what you want to talk about that day, because looking back, you're going to be able to read through all this, and I think it's pretty important. Even if you believe in pen and paper, I feel like you should still have some kind of a summary here, so you can look back and see what you're learning. And then Sunday reflections are going to show you, you can just track, what bad things happened, what good things happened, what are you grateful for this week, because you want to maintain a positive attitude and show gratitude. And then, was it successful? Do you have a goal that you want to, maybe you had a goal. Did you meet the goal? And then what you learned. So this is like your weekly log. And this is the only thing you do on Sundays. Unless you want to track some social media activity. This is the only thing that you do on Sundays. And then finally, the blog post and interaction schedule, thankfully, is nothing new at all. These are just filters. So this is just showing you the same post interactions that you just looked at. And this particular field, because part of what I'm trying to do is do more blog entries for my website that I can then post on social media. If I click on this, you can see that it's only going to show me blog post types of work. So your action items will feed back into this. You don't have to touch this. This is the schedule for you that is filtered by due dates. So it's going to show you the type of post, and then it's going to show you, not completed items. It's just going to, if you probably should have a sort here where I have the due date to be, let's make that the other way. So you'll see, what you have to complete on what days. So this will populate itself. You don't have to touch this. This will populate itself. You don't have to touch this at all. It's just a reference for you. So really it's mental physical log, social consistency, and then journaling. These are your essential activities following your particular schedule. That's how it works. That's it. Okay, we're done for essential activities. Social networking, I told you before, this is going to be fast. These are going to be quick. This is just where, again, you're going to have nothing new. This is just a linked database with a particular filter. So I have like a last 30 days on top. And that's going to just show you like different messages that you were interacting with, because I think it's important to have that here quickly at a glance. And then a follow-up schedule, if I have conversations from leads that I haven't updated, if I haven't updated any kind of notes in my leads for more than 30 days, these are people that are maybe falling off or I've forgotten about. And as you start using this more, you're going to see outdated material show up into this leads field. Okay, so that's kind of getting back to essential activities, but all that we have here for social networking now are going to be different databases. So I have like a friends database, I have a leads database, which is the most important one, and the leads database is going to tie back to the important comments, which you've already logged. It's going to go back to direct messages, which you've already logged, problems and solutions, which I would recommend putting in here, which then using that roll-up feature will automatically populate. And as you play around with this more, it's going to get less confusing. I mean, trust me, it takes a while to get the hang of this. But once you get the hang of it, you can go in here and you can quickly start understanding who's engaging with you, who your audience is, and who do you need to follow up with. Then I have things like masterminds. I'm not trying to market for these people. I'm trying to learn from these people. If I find people who are really successful at what they're doing, I want to see what their strategies are, and I want to follow those people. So as I find people who are really good at what they do and I want to become more like them, I'll put them here in the masterminds group, and then hopefully become friends with these people, and then they can engage in my posts and vice versa. That's what this group is for. companies and publications are companies and publications that are relevant to your business. You can log them here. And you can also make this an interrelational database to your tasks. It all starts moving together, right? And then I have a secondary group, primary group, secondary group. Primary group would be your niche audience. Secondary group should be like business contacts, mentors, people that you're not really trying to sell to, but you also want to engage in these groups because they are very valuable to you. And then we have things like Instagram accounts and other business relationships that you can have. Feel free to tweak this. It's a template, but that's how I have this set up. And let's get back to ideas and examples. The last thing, if I have a post idea, I put it here, which then can be tied to action items. If I read a post and I have the idea logged here, later on when I make an action item, if I remember that I made a post idea about it, it would automatically show up here under action items, and vice versa. So you can start seeing how your ideas become actions, which become posts, which become interactions with people who are relevant to your niche, which then you can then start having conversations with these people and then converting a sale, right? That's where it all starts. Everything starts from ideas. So I broke this down into post ideas. I have photography ideas for myself. If I find interesting quotes that I may want to use later, I put it here. And then I have other different examples. And this with the arrow, just showing that it's linking to something. That's going to go to my post interactions, which is under social consistency, and you've already seen that. So that's it. The UC database, which I said I was going to cover, is really just right now, all I have is the problems and solutions, and that's tied to your leads. There's a lot more in my personal database that I have tied to this, but to get you started, I want to give you, this may be a little bit overwhelming here, but duplicate the template, start playing around with the information. You'll see how it all fits together, and you will be good to go. If you have any questions, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help. Thanks for watching.